Hey folks, this is Kalani. We're going to be finishing up Mythic Nighthold by looking at the Gul'dan encounter. For this video I'm going to assume you're familiar with the fight on Heroic. If not, there should be a link in the comments down below for you to go view that one first. We don't really have any new abilities to worry about while we fight Gul'dan, but we do have a mysterious third phase with a whole bunch of new stuff to deal with. Phase 1 is also now Phase 2 of Heroic, so we don't have to deal with the 3 big adds right away, and Phase 2 is going to be Phase 3 from Heroic. Even though the abilities in the phases are more or less the same, Gul'dan will use them at completely different times, which means you're learning an entire new dance for Mythic. The only change of note is that when Gul'dan casts his Hand of Gul'dan, the first one will spawn the Jailer Big Ad, and the second will spawn the Fel Lord Big Ad. So the easiest way to explain this fight is to just walk you through it. We stacked up on the western side of the platform to start, and we always lusted on the pull. Your tank will want to take Gul'dan to the edge of the platform, but before he gets there he will cast the first set of Fel Bonds. Everyone should run together with these Fel Bonds so they all break on top of the raid. The next ability is the first Hand of Gul'dan, which can only target healers. You'll want your healers very close to the boss so that the ad spawns right into cleaving range. The first Hand of Gul'dan will spawn the Jailer ad, which will throw its Soul Vortex into the middle of the room. It will also cast Anguished Spirits, which is the green swirl. Simply avoid it and the ad should be dead before its second Soul Vortex cast. Right after the ad spawns, you'll get the first set of eyes. Your melee should be able to tear apart any eyes that stay close, and you'll want your ranged to get the ones which fly off to the sides. Make sure your ranged are a little spread so they aren't splashing each other with the eye damage. Your ranged also need to be a good distance from the boss as the first liquid hellfire goes out. It can only target ranged and it does falloff damage. If you have ranged in melee, you can nuke your entire raid, so try and avoid that. Shortly after, you'll get your first set of empowered Fel Bonds. Your raid should stack up so they get knocked to roughly the same area, while your tank dealing with bonds gets knocked out to the side so they can solo theirs. Each healer's shattered field can soak up all 3 bonds, so it's super important that your healers position the bubble properly and your bonds don't get knocked too far apart. If you do have bonds which can't be soaked by the healer, you should have your ranged run to break them out ASAP, or wait until the next hellfire has been cast. After the bonds are dealt with, you'll get your second liquid hellfire. Handle it the same way, and I would suggest using your DPS time dilation cooldowns right after it lands, as it's one of the only spots in the phase where you'll get the full 30 seconds. After the hellfire, you'll get another round of eyes, so spread loosely. The next set of bonds will go out probably before all the eyes are dead, so if you can't stack tightly, at least get knocked back into the same area as everyone else to let your healers solo the bonds. From this point, your hellfires will be empowered, leaving behind a puddle of fire, and they'll also come in 3s. Your ranged will need to run to max range near the edge to bait the hellfires and place the pulls in a nice line. You want to keep the middle of the room as open as possible, so the closer to the edge these are dropped, the better. Right after the last one lands, you'll get another set of eyes, followed very quickly by Bonds of Fel. This is a pretty bad combo, but if you spread loosely and save a few cooldowns for the eyes, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. You'll need to break these bonds fast because another empowered hellfire is on its way, so your range will need to get back to the edge of the room and start the next 3 puddles close to the old ones. At this point, we're always close to the transition, which happens at 50.4%. If you're a little slower, you might have to deal with another set of bonds and even another set of eyes, but you should always push the phase before the next Hand of Gul'dan. When Gul'dan teleports to the middle, you need to run to the north side of the platform. When he blasts open the sky, you'll get blown to the south side of the platform pretty hard, though you shouldn't need any movement speed cooldowns as long as you're running against the wind. We split the ranged and healers into 2 groups, one on the east and one on the west side of the boss to help with fire placement, which is the first ability you'll have to deal with. You can handle them the exact same way as Heroic, so keep the fire tidy and they shouldn't ever be a problem. That will be followed very closely by your first empowered Eye of Gul'dan. Save a few cooldowns and it should die very quickly. You'll get more flames as the eye is blasting everyone, so make sure your healers are ready and your raid is spread out. During this phase, you'll also have to deal with the Soul Siphon and the resulting souls in the well. We had one of our tanks and 2 rogues soaking the souls. They would eventually go up to 9 stacks and just keep soaking, as you can't get any higher than 9. While in the well, they were also spread apart so they didn't splash each other, and if one of the rogues got the flames, they would dump it at the back of the well. If there were no longer any souls in the well, they would just stack with the melee. It's worth noting that while rogues are the best at soaking the souls due to feint and cloak, you should be fine with anyone else, they would just need extra healing. We've successfully done this with 1 rogue and 1 demon hunter, so as long as you have 2 melee who can take care of it, you should be fine. The boss should be positioned so that all of the soakers can always hit the boss while still standing in the well in their current positions. You'll want all of the souls gone for the first black harvest. Your ranged can stack up a bit closer to the boss for this one to benefit from AoE heals, and right after the cast is finished, your tank will want to take him to the edge of the platform ready for Storm of the Betrayer. Just before the Stormcast and during the Stormcast, you'll have to deal with sets of flames. Drop them inside the Storm's larger circle so they get removed from the area, and right as the Stormcast finishes, you'll get another set of flames, so be ready to take these to the edge. After Gul'dan teleports, you'll get an Eye of Gul'dan, so nuke that down, followed by Violent Winds, which will push you back to where you were before the storm. You'll get some more flames, followed by a Black Harvest, and flames at the same time, then even more flames after. Drag the boss to the edge for the storm. When it finishes, Gul'dan will spawn an eye where he is, and then teleport, so all of your DPS will need to go back over and nuke it down. You can taunt the eye to get it moving after it starts channeling, so bring it to the boss so you can get some cleave damage in. You'll get a bunch of flames in quick succession and another eye. Make sure a few DPS save their cooldowns for the second eye, as that's the last one you should face. Drag the boss to the edge for the storm and be prepared to get pushed back. You'll want your entire raid to stack up where you are getting pushed back so you can use healing cooldowns to survive the next Black Harvest. At this point, you have about 45 seconds before the next major ability, so this is the time where you'll get Gul'dan to 10% and finish him off. You'll have flames to deal with, but they shouldn't give you any issues. Make sure you're not near the edge of the room when the demon within becomes active, as he'll knock everyone back. So, now we're in Phase 3, and this is where the fun really begins. The first ability you need to watch out for is Parasitic Wound. This will afflict 2 players and deal damage over time, and when it expires it will spawn 2 parasites each, which will target a random player and stun them until the parasites die. The parasites also can't be damaged by anyone who is outside of their little circle. To deal with this mechanic, you want both afflicted players to stack on the left leg of the boss. When the parasites appear, rotate stuns to keep them static, and your melee have to blow them up. The next 2 abilities are cast when the boss reaches full fury. The first is Soul Sever. This will target the tank with aggro and leave a soul behind the tank. One of your DPS needs to run into the soul to return it to your tank. You will need at least 2 DPS assigned to soak in the soul, as you can't do it twice in a row. While the soul is present, the tank can't be healed at all, and when the soul is returned, the tank will have a healing absorption effect, so your healers need to be on their toes. You need to make sure no one is close to the tank with aggro, even behind them. Otherwise, they'll get hit by the Soul Sever as well, creating an additional soul, and it just causes a whole bunch of issues, so just stay away from the tanks. The second ability is Flame Crash. The boss jumps to the tank without aggro and stomps on them, dealing a large amount of raid damage and leaving behind a flame patch. This tank needs to be at the edge of the room ready to receive the crash before it goes out. This ability does a lot of falloff damage, so if it's in the raid, it can kill everybody instantly. These 2 abilities always alternate. The boss will also cast Manifest Azzinoth, which summons a soul fragment ad. This ad will cast Bulwark of Azzinoth on itself, which needs to be spell stolen, or a warlock can enslave the ad to make use of the Bulwark. They will cast Chaos Seed, which throws out blasts of fel at random raid members. The ability is marked by the green circles and is avoidable, but you already have to be moving when it's cast, so keep your eye on their cast bars. If anyone gets hit, they'll take damage and tick for a lot of damage over time, so try and avoid it as much as you can. These ads need to die as quickly as possible. We aim to have ours die as the tank was positioning for the next flame crash, as the ad will need to die close to a night orb. When they die, they leave behind a demonic essence, which is very important. You'll want your second ad to die on the opposite side of the first, as that demonic essence will get used later. The night orbs are spawned periodically throughout the fight and will nuke their highest threat target with a huge AoE pulse. The DPS who manage to acquire the Bulwark of Azzinoth through Spellsteal or Enslave will have to get aggro on these night orbs and stand away from the raid. The whole idea of this phase is to stop the demon within casting Visions of the Dark Titan. This cast will one-shot your entire raid, and the only way to stop it is to stand inside the demonic essences, which deals damage to you as it heals up. When it's full health, it will explode after a short delay, stunning the boss and stopping his cast. The problem is that it will also kill you, and the only way to avoid that is to kill one of the night orbs and stand in the time zone it leaves behind. Those time zones have a very short duration. So, the way you want this to unfold is the boss jumps away to cast the visions, your ranged DPS finish off the night orb while your entire raid stacks inside the demonic essence, which should be right next to the night orb to heal it up, and then you all jump into the time zone. That will stop his cast, while keeping your raid alive. Your Bulwark of Azeroth DPS should enter the time zone on the other side so he doesn't AoE your entire raid when you get out. Now, you just have to do that one more time, with a few more adds. The explosion from the demonic essence will stun the boss and give him a debuff which increases the damage he takes by 50%, but we don't really care about his health yet as we need to set up the next explosion. The next Nighthold you get is also not really needed, so you will want to kill it as quickly as you can without sacrificing too much DPS on the big adds. Dark classes work really well for that job. Your next 2 Azeroth adds need to die close to your leftover demonic essence, so you end up with 3 stacked close together, and your third Nighthold should pop up somewhere close to the demonic essences if you place them correctly. This is the Night Orb that will need to die after the boss jumps away again. When he jumps away to start casting the visions, you need to kill the Night Orb and heal up all 3 demonic essences. You should use any leftover healing cooldowns to get through this, and you should ideally have a Resto Shaman Spirit Link. If done right, you've pretty much killed the boss already. The triple explosion gives the boss a 150% debuff, and you should have your Lust coming off cooldown right on schedule. Lust and nuke the bosses face off. You'll still have all the abilities to deal with, so don't lose focus. You can CC all of the Azeroth adds from this point, though. Banish, Demon Hunter Shackles, Rogue Blinds, Hunter Traps, anything you have access to. At this point, the only thing that can wipe your raid is parasites, so make sure you're keeping on top of those. And that should be all you need to take down Gul'dan on Mythic difficulty, which wraps up our Nighthold raid guides. Be sure to join me in Tomb of Sargeras when it releases, and we can do this all over again. If you have any questions or queries, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible, or hop on over to Discord. We have a server at discord.gg/Kalani, great place to come ask questions or just hang out. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.